So it's become very clear to me that it's impossible for me to stop staring into the void that is r/waifuism, and I saw a couple posts this week that I just could not ignore, so let's get into them. This post is titled, "It's Over, I'm Home." So perhaps a handful of you might remember me from a few months ago where I came here crying for help XD. For those of you who don't know, the fictional love of my life had been implied to end up with another character earlier in the year, and I was heartbroken, but I could not stop loving her. Well, even after I posted here and was met with kind and encouraging words, thanks again, I went back to trying to distance myself. It was too hard thinking of her with another person. But it was all a mistake. I never should have doubted her. I was just tearing myself apart for nothing all along. Her final episode aired 2 days ago. I wasn't able to watch it then because of the act of putting it on caused literally the biggest panic attack I have ever had. After I calmed down though, I was able to think things through a lot better than I had before. At first I tried moving on again, but as you can see that lasted about a day. Then I found myself yearning for her once again. Luckily, at the same time, I happened to be reading about some scientific facts for unrelated reasons, and it reminded me how much I care about facts and objective reality. Which in turn was like a wake-up call, a sudden realization that I'd been ignoring the difference between fiction and reality. That whatever might happen in her source, my love could never actually hurt me. I was the one hurting myself the whole time through my insecurity. I thought that allowing myself to think of fictional characters as real people would help me be closer to them, but in truth, it was my downfall. Drawing the line between fiction and reality is what saved me. I decided I would look at our relationship differently, acknowledge that the one I love is a fictional character, and adjust my perception accordingly. So I decided to watch that final episode tonight. I went into it with that mindset. I'd like to think it would have helped me reconcile with her even if the ship had become explicitly canon, but the ship didn't become explicitly canon. And I, as the spectator, was the one who got to be with her up until the very end. Reflecting on it after the end, I felt a deep sense of peace and comfort with her that I haven't had for a long time. It truly felt like coming home after a long, exhausting journey. It's over. I don't have to be on the edge of my seat anymore, worrying about what's going to happen to her next. I know her story from beginning to end, and now I feel like we can just be together the way I've always wanted us to be. No imminent danger, no other potential suitors, only me and the love of my life. Maybe it had to happen the way it did in order for it to come to this. Maybe I had to go through that trauma and fear to finally become comfortable with the person I love. I guess sometimes the suffering really is worth it in the end. She has always inspired hope in me and others. It's what she does. Now I get to live for her, just like I promised before that terrible moment when I thought I lost her. There's always a way. Things always work out. So I'm not sure if this context is important, but this person self-ships with the 13th Doctor from Doctor Who, and I was confused about that because my understanding was that the Doctor has all these different iterations, but it's always the same person. They just look different, but they remember everything, but I'm not sure if that's true. People can fill in the gaps for me in the comments. So I will admit, in terms of like each individual r/waifuism post, it's really hard to like put on a scale how concerning they are, but this one concerned me deeply. First off, this person had the biggest panic attack of their life at the idea of watching the finale to this season of Doctor Who, which is just not a good place to be in at all. And then they seem to get close to getting out of this, or at least having a healthier engagement with it by differentiating between fiction and reality. And it seems like they are acknowledging that this is a fictional character, but then the fact that the ship didn't end up being canon kind of seems to like encourage them to continue this unhealthy relationship, which, I don't know, maybe you read something different into this. To me, it just made me more worried for this person. I thought they were going to get out, but they did not. So I'm guessing this is just going to be a running theme in this video, but people seem like they are disengaging with this activity, and then everybody wants to pull them back in, or at least it just seems to be encouraged to stay in this. But anyway, let's get to the post. Has anyone had an issue where your waifu feels more distant over time? I've been a waifuist for about 4 years now, and it's starting to feel less like she's actually there with me. Anyone else had this issue, and if so, how do you deal with it? This person, whose flair implies they started dating their waifu in March and married their waifu in October, says, I've definitely had times where I felt like the spark has passed, but it's natural for any relationship. Reminding yourself why you love them so much helps a lot. Engage with your significant other more, imagine like you're talking to her, do something with her. Do you have any merch? I find that it helps. Your SO is a Vocaloid, correct? Maybe songs with her singing could help. I don't know if anybody else shares this feeling, but I just get the ickiest, grossest feeling reading this. Like, it really feels like I'm watching somebody harm another person. Now, I know this person posted an r/waifuism, so it's impossible to expect someone to have discouraged this person from continuing with this lifestyle, but to just have somebody tell you, like, oh, you need to immerse yourself more in your relationship with this person. Like, if you want to make some purchases, definitely spend more money on this and listen to songs of her singing to just get yourself fully immersed in this delusion. Continuing with this theme, we have a post entitled Hiccups in Your Relationship. I was curious to hear any stories about whether or not users have had some difficulties in your relationships and how you worked through them with your waifu/husbando. And we have 77 votes out of 148 saying our relationship has been smooth sailing, 45 saying we've had a fight or two but mostly fine, and 26 saying it's been a rocky road. I myself voted for it's been a rocky road because me and my waifu, Alex Vance from Half-Life, have not communicated in a long time, and I really feel like the spark has died. So it is plainly confusing to me, the idea that someone could have problems in a fictional one-sided relationship, other than, you know, questioning your own sanity for even participating in it. But let's hear what these people have to say. This person's ship is with Ula, I'm not sure who that is, but they say, our earliest trajectory was a rocky one. I became smitten with her after seeing the movie, though I obviously had a lot of problems with her role in it. They became worse when I was given a copy of the Expanded Universe novel that details her backstory, which added a lot of very sadistic details that made me even more uncomfortable. And then the special edition of the movie came out shortly after that and brought her back for just an extra 30 seconds of her looking scared and screaming into the camera, so I think that was kind of what broke me for a while. It all became rather too much, and I had to step away and focus on other things. Her coming back into my life has been made possible by my realizing, as a more mature person at this point, that despite it all, she was strong enough to escape and survive, and that I was capable enough as a writer and as someone who cares for her to depict that and show that for her, and to create a more hopeful path for both of us in the process. There are moments when the darkness seems poised to return, but for the most part we've managed to find our way around it, so I'm looking forward to a more calm and pleasant future for us both. I'm starting to feel very mentally unwell because I went down such a rabbit hole for this. So I looked up Ula. Turns out she's a character from Return of the Jedi. She was one of the slave dancers with Jabba the Hutt, and this person references the special edition of that movie, which came out in 1997 and altered their relationship with her. So this person has been in some sort of relationship with this character for at least 25 years. And it just sounds like it's so real to them, and I don't even have that much commentary because it's just breaking my brain more than anything else. Yo, okay, this is the fucking person from before that was giving advice on, yo, but just buy more merch, bro. Just get more invested in your relationship with your fake person. They say, since I have a pretty problematic SO, considering he's an actual war criminal who would do it all again, there's been a lot of problems, disagreements, and a lot of doubt. But at the end of the day, I do love him. He deserves to be loved despite everything, and we do complement each other after all. This is fucking insane. Like, I'm so tired of pretending that this isn't insane. This is crazy. You are having disagreements with a fictional war criminal. Like, what are you disagreeing about? What is he saying in response to you? What? Every time that I think it can't get darker, it just does. This person says, the only time me and Suyu fought was actually before we became boyfriend and girlfriend, and it was when Bakugo had been captured and I disagreed with her not going in after him. I yelled at her and stormed out and went with the gang to save Bakugo. When we got back, Suyu broke down crying and was really worried about us the whole time. She thought we were all goners. I realized how much she cares for all of us and I felt horrible for what I did, so I hugged her and promised to never run off behind her back again. A while later, we fell in love and have a very healthy relationship. Okay, first off, maybe this person should develop a relationship with punctuation, because there's not a single fucking period, comma, anything in this statement. And I don't know, this is really starting to like flesh out how these relationships work for me, because these people are imagining complex scenarios that they're involved in and interactions and people going in to save other, like this is very complex in these people's minds, and that only makes it more troublesome for me to think about. Alright, so here we've got a question. So my SO doesn't really have much canon info yet and only appears for like 3 seconds in the show he's in. How do I bond with him more? How do I connect with him? Do I just fill in the empty spaces with headcanons? That kind of seems counterproductive, but I don't know what else to do. And this just emphasizes for me, like, what the fuck are we doing, dude? You go from, like, thinking a character is cute, which is a totally normal thing, to, like, deciding that you need to now fill out more information about this character so that you can create a fictional relationship with them. Like, this is wild. I think this really drives home the issue with having a waifuism community, because once you have a community that fosters this sort of behavior, you like create a framework for people to work off of, and it becomes normalized, and instead of just thinking a character is cute, you now have this like drive to create a relationship because you've seen so many other people do it, and you've seen them seemingly be happy through text on the internet from this relationship. Like, maybe I'm thinking too deep into it, but I think it does show a deep problem with having waifuism communities. And this post kind of just reinforces what I just said, I think. Some reliable sources about the passion for fictional characters. I think whenever someone tries to search for content about the passion for fictional characters, usually find comments or videos of people repudiating such actions, which I personally ignore because they are not experts or scholars on the subject. So thinking about it, I started to search for better sources in Google Scholar, and as much as they had few searches, the ones I found brought a comprehensive basis about the passion for characters. I was glad that these researches showed that appreciation for fictional characters reflect common and normal human characteristics such as empathy. I'm not saying with this comment that everyone should agree with the surveys, I just looked for reliable bases to understand my feelings about my SO and what I would like to share. Searches are below. And I'm not trying to demean myself by saying this. I am many things, but an academic is not one of them, so I tried to read these. I could not fucking make heads or tails of what was being said in these studies. I don't even know if they completely apply to the act of waifuism. If anybody wants to look into it, I will link the post down below in the description. And I really don't mean this in like an anti-intellectual way, but I feel like there's just a level of common sense here that like, one of these studies, I read the conclusion, which obviously isn't the whole fucking story, but the conclusion was that they need to do more research on this. Like, they weren't able to come to an actual conclusion on whether this was good or produced good outcomes or whatever. And I just feel like common sense tells us that this is not a healthy lifestyle. But let me know what you guys think. Let me know if anybody actually read these articles and could make heads or tails of them. Here's a video of a chinchilla taking a dust bath. If you want my last waifuism video, it'll be on the top right. If you want a 3-hour stream of me reading really bad creepypastas, it's on the bottom. Lovely channel members to the left, and I'll see you guys super soon. I hope you're skating on to the best of your abilities, drinking a sufficient amount of water, and taking care of yourselves. Peace out, Cub Scouts. Later, skaters.